Imagine walking into uh, a mid-sized company today. Like, if you just ask the leadership team, almost half of them, I think it's 42%, according to a 2025 study by CBS and EuroStat, they'll proudly tell you that they are, using AI.
Right. They'll point to some flashy new initiative or a tool they just bought.
Exactly. But if you actually look under the hood at their operations or their balance sheets, there is this staggering drop-off because out of that 42%, only 6% are actually making a single measurable dime from it.
Wow. Just 6%.
Yeah, just 6%. They're the ones actually driving results. And the rest, that other 36%, they're just kind of stuck. I mean, they're caught in pilot purgatory, experimenting endlessly, or they're paying for some fancy chatbot that just sits on their website gathering dust.
Yeah, we see that all the time.
So it brings up a critical question for you listening right now. Are you in that 6% fundamentally changing how your business operates? Or are you in the 36% stuck playing around with a very expensive novelty?
And that gap, right, that massive chasm between we bought some AI software and AI is fundamentally driving our ROI, that is basically the single biggest missed opportunity in the SME sector today.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially if you are a European business leader or a CTO or a developer trying to figure out where to allocate resources. The technology landscape has just shifted so rapidly. We aren't debating futuristic theoretical concepts anymore.
No, it's happening right now.
Exactly. We are talking about basic survival and competitive advantage in the here and now. The companies that bridge that 36 to 6% gap, they're going to swallow their competitors whole over the next 5 years. And the ones that don't, they'll simply find themselves completely outpaced by leaner, faster operations.
Okay, let's unpack this, because we are going to build a bridge across that gap today. Our deep dive is focused on the actual mechanics of getting this right, and we're heavily drawing from the frameworks developed by AetherLink.
Right, the Dutch AI consultancy.
Yeah, they specialize in moving European SMEs exactly into that 6% category, specifically through their 3 product lines, AetherBot, AetherMind, and AetherDV. So today, we are stripping away all the Silicon Valley hype. We're looking at the hard operational costs, the actual friction of implementation, and this massive paradigm shift happening right now towards something called agentic AI.
Which is a huge shift.
It really is.
Yeah.
But to get there, we have to tackle the elephant in the room first. What is the actual price tag on this transformation? Because, I mean, come on, it's never just a $20 monthly subscription.
No, definitely not. Not if you're doing it at an enterprise level. And honestly, that is the first question every single CTO and operations director brings to the table. And rightfully so.
It is everything.
Right. And the market right now is just clouded. You've got vendors promising absolute miracles for pennies. And then on the flip side, giant consulting firms making it sound so unbelievably complex that only multinational corporations can afford to play the game.
Yeah, I want to ground this in reality for a second. Let's break down the practical cost tiers that we are actually seeing in the market for SMEs.
Good idea.
So at the entry level, you're looking at roughly 50 to 500 euros a month. This gets you the foundational pieces. You know, an AI chatbot for standard FAQs, maybe some smart email categorization, basic single-step automations.
The standard stuff.
Right. Then you step up to the growth tier. That's about 500 to 2,000 euros a month. This is where you unlock automated sales follow-ups, complex invoice processing, predictive lead scoring, and conversational voice agents.
This is where things start getting really interesting.
Yeah, and then you hit the transformation tier. This runs 2,000 to 5,000 euros a month. At this level, you aren't just buying software anymore. You are running multi-agent systems, full workflow automation, and AI-driven decision-making across entire departments.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture, staring at a 5,000 euro monthly invoice is terrifying for a mid-sized business.
Oh, yeah, completely.
Unless you immediately map it to capacity. You have to look at the mechanism of savings, not just the cost of the software itself.
Right. Let's do the math on that capacity. So Deloitte Digital released a stat in 2025 showing that proper AI automation saves 30 to 50% on administrative time.
That's a massive chunk of time.
It is. Let's say you run a logistics company or maybe an agency. You have 5 administrative staff earning an average of 45,000 euros a year each. If you hit just the conservative lower bound of that estimate, a 30% time saving, you haven't just saved time. You freed up 67,500 euros in human capacity.
Exactly.
And I want to be incredibly clear here because a narrative always jumps immediately to job losses. This is rarely about firing your admin team. It's about taking the, day and a half they spend every single week manually copying data from a PDF into a CRM.
And redirecting that human intelligence toward actual client-facing high-value problem solving.
Yes, exactly.
The accounting sector is actually the perfect petri dish for this. Accountant.nl tracked firms implementing these systems in early 2026, and they found an average saving of 12 hours per week per office just on manual data entry.
Wow, 12 hours.
Right, there's a day and a half of pure margin injected directly back into the business. But we have to be intellectually honest here. You cannot just buy the 2,000 euro software tier, flip a switch, and miraculously get those 12 hours back.
Right, there's always a catch.
The hidden costs, the friction of implementation. Those are what keep 36% of companies from ever seeing that ROI.
Walk me through that friction, because to a lot of business owners, a SaaS tool is just a SaaS tool. You buy the seats, you send out the login links, and you tell the team, hey, start using this. Where is the hidden financial trap?
The trap is the human-to-machine interface and, honestly, the state of your own internal data.
What do you mean by that?
Well, even for a targeted integration, you need to budget 40 to 120 hours of implementation time. And that is before the software is even live. Then your human team actually has to learn how to change their workflows to accommodate the AI. You have to budget 2 to 4 days of training per department.
Just to get them using it right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And furthermore, there is the data preparation phase. I mean, AI is not magic. It is highly dependent on structure. If your internal processes are chaotic, undocumented, and just scattered across a dozen different unlinked spreadsheets.
Which, let's be honest, is most SMEs.
Yeah, you have to spend weeks structuring that data before the AI can even read it. Plus, the technology evolves so fast that you must factor in 5 to 10% of your initial implementation costs annually, just for maintenance and model updates.
Hold on, I have to stop you there. 120 hours of implementation, plus data structuring. If I'm a CTO running a lean development team, or an operations manager already working 50-hour weeks, that just sounds like a massive quarter-derailing distraction.
It absolutely can be.
I mean, I could spend all that time and still end up with a system my team absolutely refuses to use.
Which is exactly why tackling this blindly is a disaster.
Right.
You don't try to automate your entire business at once. You need a surgical heuristic. Which brings us to the 4-hour rule.
Okay, the 4-hour rule.
Yeah, this is the operational filter that separates successful integrations from expensive failures. The rule is brutally simple mathematically. If your team spends more than 4 hours a week on a specific, repeatable manual process, it is a prime candidate for AI automation.
And if they don't?
If a task takes less than 4 hours a week collectively, do not touch it. The setup costs, the data structuring, and the 120 hours of implementation time will just completely swallow any long-term benefits.
I really like the discipline of that, the 4-hour rule. It kind of cuts out all the noise of we should use AI for everything and turns it into a strict mathematical threshold.
Exactly. It keeps you grounded.
So let's say I've run that audit. I've found 5 different bottlenecks in my company that take 10 hours a week each. If we are trying to avoid a massive disruptive IT overhaul, where are the successful 6% actually pointing their tech first? Because, I need something that proves its value this quarter.
You start by targeting the external front lines and the most tedious internal bottlenecks. You do not touch core product delivery until you have built the supporting foundation.
Okay, let's talk about the external front lines first. Customer service chatbots are usually the go-to, but frankly, an FAQ chatbot feels so 2023.
Right. Everyone has one.
We all interact with them, they rarely understand nuance, and they usually just link you to a help article you already read anyway. Why is this still considered a vital starting point?
What's fascinating here is that the goal of a modern AI chatbot isn't just to answer questions. It is to act as a structured data pipeline. Yes, a well-configured bot catches 40 to 70% of standard questions, which yields ROI in about 2 weeks.
That's pretty fast.
But more importantly, it categorizes the intent of the 30% it can't answer and routes that perfectly to the right human, complete with a nice summary of the user's frustration. Gartner actually predicts that by 2027, Over 50% of all customer service interactions will start via an AI channel.
50%.
Yeah, so if you don't build this basic routing pipeline now, your human team will be completely overwhelmed by volume in 2 years compared to your automated competitors.
That makes total sense. So it's triage, not just deflection.
Exactly.
But internally, my biggest black hole, and I think every leader's biggest black hole, is the inbox. How are we moving beyond basic spam filters here?
We move to semantic email categorization and routing. Traditional software just filters by keyword. If the word urgent is in the subject line, it flags it.
Right.
But a human knows that an email from your biggest client saying, we need to rethink our Q3 strategy, is incredibly urgent, even if the word isn't actually there.
Yeah.
Modern AI understands that semantic meaning.
I see. So it's kind of like having an impossibly fast, invisible mailroom clerk. Like this clerk intercepts every single email before it hits the main inbox, actually reads it to understand the context, knows exactly how critical it is based on your company history, and instantly drops it onto the exact right desk in the specific department.
That's a great way to put it.
And the data shows this saves an average of 45 minutes a day per employee. I mean, if you have a team of 10, that's almost an entire full-time employee's workload reclaimed just from inbox sorting.
Precisely. You're replacing cognitive sorting with automated routing. And we see this exact same leap in cognitive capability in finance too, specifically with invoice processing.
Oh, this is a huge one.
Yeah.
Because traditional OCR, optical character recognition, that's been around forever, you scan a PDF and the software tries to read the numbers.
Right.
But the second a vendor changes their invoice template, and moves the date field to the bottom left, the old software just completely crashes.
Because old OCR is spatial. It just looks for coordinates on a page. AI-driven invoice processing is semantic. It looks at the document and understands, oh, this is a date, regardless of where it is printed.
That's so much more robust.
It automatically extracts the amounts, cross-references the VAT numbers with your database, and pushes it right to the accounting software. Accountant.nl noted that error rates drop from an average of 4% to under 1% when you make this switch.
And then there is the sales side, the automated follow-ups and AI voice agents. This happens to be AetherLink's specialty with their AetherBot line, and we really need to clarify what a modern voice agent actually is, because I think people immediately picture those robotic, agonizing, press 1 for sales, press 2 for support, phone menus.
Right, the IVR menus, those are logic trees. That is not AI.
Yeah.
A modern conversational voice agent can call a prospect who just downloaded a white paper, have a natural dynamic conversation about their business needs, answer complex objections in real time.
Wait, real-time objection handling?
Yes, and actually book a qualified meeting directly onto your sales team's calendar. And it does this 24/7 at a fraction of the cost of a human SDR.
So what does this all mean for the actual structure of a company? Because everything we've talked about so far, the smart inbox, the invoice reader, the conversational agent, these are incredibly powerful, but they still feel like isolated tools. They are isolated optimizations. Where does this go when we scale it up to that transformation tier you mentioned earlier?
This is where we cross the Rubicon. The tools we just discussed are part of a paradigm we are rapidly leaving behind called RPA, or Robotic Process Automation.
Okay, RPA.
Yeah, RPA is incredibly rigid. It operates on strict predefined rules. If X happens, do Y. It works beautifully until there is a slight exception in the process. The moment something unexpected occurs, the RPA just breaks and requires a human to fix it. We are now shifting to agentic AI.
Agentic AI, let's really dig into the mechanics of that, because it sounds like we are giving the software actual agency. Like we are moving from a tool that you swing to a colleague that makes decisions.
In a highly structured environment, yes. Agentic AI doesn't just execute a linear prompt. It understands context. It has the ability to independently formulate a plan, reason through obstacles, execute a multi-step task, and critically validate its own result before presenting it to you.
Okay, wait. Let's use an analogy to make this concrete for everyone. If traditional AI is a supercomputer where you type in a prompt and get an output, agentic AI, specifically a multi-agent system, sounds more like a digital assembly line.
That is the perfect way to visualize it. Imagine the complex multi-day task of drafting a highly customized 30-page client proposal. You don't just ask one single AI model to do the whole thing because it will hallucinate or lose focus.
Right.
In an agentic system, you have specialized AI agents handing work off to each other.
So on this digital assembly line, Agent 1 is the researcher. Its only job is to scour the internet, pull the client's recent press releases, gather market data, compile competitor analysis, and then it takes that raw, verified data and hands it to Agent 2.
Exactly. Agent 2 is the analyst. Now, Agent 2 isn't allowed to search the web at all. It is strictly prompted to look at Agent 1's data, identify market gaps, and construct a strategic outline based on your company's specific product offerings.
Then the analyst passes the outline to Agent 3, the writer. The writer drafts the actual prose, ensuring the tone matches your brand guidelines. But here's the critical part, the friction I want to understand. What happens if the writer AI hallucinates? What if it confidently writes that our product can do something it absolutely cannot do? In the old system, a human would have to catch that and rewrite it.
And this is the magic of the reasoning loop in agentic AI. The writer doesn't send the draft to the client. It sends it to Agent 4, the quality control agent.
Ah, a QA agent.
Yes. Agent 4 is equipped with your company's factual technical documentation. Its entire system prompt is dedicated to finding errors, inconsistencies, or hallucinations in the text. If it finds one, it doesn't just flag it. It pushes the draft backward down the assembly line to the writer with specific instructions to fix the error.
That is amazing.
Right. Only when Agent 4 completely validates the document does it pass to Agent 5, the distributor, which formats it and prepares it for sending.
And what is the human doing while these 5 agents are looping and arguing and drafting?
The human is the executive supervisor. You set the initial objective, draft a proposal for client X, and you review the final polished output, the hours of gathering data, synthesizing, writing, and proofreading, all handled by the system.
That is incredible.
The McKinsey Global Institute actually estimated in 2025 that companies adopting agentic workflows can boost their productivity by 40 to 60%. We were talking about a 20-person SME legitimately outputting the highly customized work of a 50-person enterprise.
Which is absolutely staggering, but it brings me to a massive roadblock. If this is mathematically proven to work, why isn't every SME in Europe running a digital assembly line today? I mean, AetherLink actually ran a survey on this exact friction in Q4 of 2025. They found 42% of businesses simply lack the time to implement it, 36% are terrified they won't see an ROI to justify the budget, and 27% explicitly lack the technical knowledge to build it.
Those are all valid concerns.
They are, but I want to push on a fear that isn't on that list, and it's the one I hear constantly from CTOs: data privacy.
Ah, yes, the walled garden problem.
Exactly. If I have an army of AI agents researching, analyzing, and writing proposals based on my highly sensitive proprietary client data, am I not just feeding my company's trade secrets directly into a massive public LLM? How do I know OpenAI or Anthropic isn't going to use my Q3 financial projections to train their next model?
This raises a very important question, and it is the absolute non-negotiable red line for European business leaders. The answer is operational security and architectural design. You simply do not use public consumer-facing models for sensitive operations.
You have to isolate it.
Yes. You build on enterprise architecture that explicitly walls off your data. For instance, AetherLink deploys its systems using European servers, specifically Supabase EU. Your data is encrypted at rest and in transit. But mechanically, the most vital piece is the DPA, the Data Processing Agreement.
Explain the mechanism of the DPA for us, because to a lot of people, that just sounds like a legal PDF you sign and ignore. What is it actually doing technically?
Technically, a DPA with a major model provider forces a hard separation between inference and training.
Okay.
When your AI agent reads a sensitive document, it sends that text to the model to process the prompt that's inference. But the enterprise API structurally prevents that data from ever being written into the model's underlying training weights. The model processes your data, gives you the answer, and then immediately forgets it.
So it's completely ephemeral.
Exactly. Your data remains completely proprietary and fully GDPR compliant.
Okay, so the data is safe in a European vault, and the model has amnesia after it does the work. But what about operational control? Even if the data is safe, how do I trust an agentic AI system not to just, go rogue and automatically email a disastrous hallucinated contract to my biggest client?
Because you never give it blind executive authority. You design the system with strict approval gates. Think about how you treat a brilliant but brand new junior employee.
You double-check their work.
Exactly. You might trust them to research the client, analyze the numbers, and even draft the €100,000 contract. But you absolutely do not give them the authority to sign it and send it without your final review.
You build a human firewall.
Yes, exactly. The AI does 99% of the heavy lifting. But the final click, the execution of the email, the deployment of the funds, the signing of the document that requires a human supervisor to click approve. You delegate the labor, but you retain all the executive authority.
That drastically lowers the temperature on the risk. It's guided delegation. But that still leaves us with the practical barriers from the survey, right? The lack of time and the fear of blowing the budget. If a mid-sized company doesn't have 120 spare hours or 5,000 euros a month to just guess if this will work, how do they safely test the waters without blowing up their quarter?
They stop guessing and start auditing. The frameworks we've been discussing point to a very specific methodology for this, which AetherLink calls EtherMind. It is designed entirely to eliminate that upfront risk and friction.
How does it work?
It is a highly controlled three-step process. Step 1 is a 2-week AI readiness assessment. It usually costs around 2,500 euros. And this is not a fluffy consulting session. It is a rigorous, objective audit of your data maturity, your current software stack, and your operational bottlenecks.
So they come in and look for those 4-hour rule violations.
Precisely. They map your processes and identify exactly which 1 or 2 use cases will deliver the fastest mathematically provable ROI. You know the exact math before you ever write a line of code.
That's smart.
Then step 2 is the pilot implementation. Based on that hard data, you take 4 to 8 weeks to build one single, fully functioning AI application. Not a theoretical prototype, a working tool embedded in your daily operations.
And the goal is to get that first pilot to literally pay for itself in saved capacity.
Exactly. You aim for measurable ROI within 6 weeks of deployment. Only after that single pilot proves its financial value do you move to step 3, which is scaling up into the full multi-agent ecosystem. There is no massive big bang IT rollout that disrupts the whole company. It is controlled, sequential, self-funding growth.
It takes all the emotion, the hype, and the fear out of the equation and just replaces it with pure, rigorous business logic.
It really does.
We're coming to the end of our deep dive today, and as always, we want to distill this massive topic down to the most critical takeaways. For me, the absolute biggest shift in my thinking today is the 4-hour rule.
Yeah, it's a game changer.
It cuts through all the technological jargon. It gives you, as a business leader, a dead simple mathematical threshold. If a repeatable task takes more than 4 hours a week, you automate it. If it doesn't, you leave it alone. It is the perfect filter to prevent you from wasting money automating things that just don't matter. What about you? What is the defining lesson here?
For me, it is the fundamental psychological shift required to succeed. The companies trapped in that 36% monies were the ones experimenting without any real results. They still view AI purely as a software tool. They treat it like a slightly faster version of Microsoft Excel.
Right.
But the 6% of companies that are dominating right now have fundamentally shifted their mindset. They view agentic AI not as a tool, but as a digital colleague. They don't think about what the software can calculate. They think about what the multi-agent assembly line can execute. That shift in perspective is the defining factor of modern business scaling.
Here's where it gets really interesting, and I want you to mull this over as we wrap up. If agentic AI truly allows a 20-person mid-sized company to operate with the output, the analytical power, and the speed of a 50-person enterprise, what does the future baseline of a small business actually look like?
It's a crazy thought.
Are we only a few years away from seeing 1 or 2-person human teams orchestrating highly complex global operations using a digital assembly line of 100 specialized, tireless AI agents? If the human is no longer the laborer, but purely the executive supervisor guiding the strategy, then the traditional limit of what a small business can achieve hasn't just been expanded, it has essentially vanished.
It's a whole new world.
More AI insights at etherlink.ai.